Bueno, buenas tardes. Antes de proceder a darle la palabra a Elsa con la presentación de caracterización de los productos en los mercados, creo que quedó en el aire algunas dudas sobre la pregunta que hizo Ayrton sobre la falta de datos para el análisis de la información. Entonces queríamos ver, ¿verdad? Y eso viene acompañado con el comentario que hizo nuestra compañera Rafaela, y queremos dar al final del cierre del día algunos 5 o 10 minutos, ¿verdad?, para aquellas personas que quisieran hacer unos comentarios al respecto. Creo que Blanca quería hablar al respecto, Víctor también, yo también tengo un pequeño ejemplo que hacemos nosotros en Honduras y no sé si Rafaela nos podría abordar un poquito más sobre lo que habló. Entonces, en estos momentos concedemos la palabra a Elsa Hernández de la CCI.
Buenas tardes. Primero que todo, quiero agradecerles a...
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank you. This is the first time I attend this kind of meeting, and I would like to share our experience in channeling and typifying or characterizing products in markets. This morning, Adolfo Martinez was telling us that one of the challenges was how to monitor the largest amount of products in markets. But it's just not products because they're products. These products need to have certain features. And so in this presentation, I will address the question made by Blanca to Fernando as to what type of characteristics you should keep in mind when you characterize the product. In economy, we have what is called a perfect competition. This implies that for every product, there is someone who is demanding that product. And in a perfect world, the market will be empty of that product. But this doesn't happen because this implies that products are homogeneous, and that is not the case. Products have different characteristics. We have intrinsic attributes, differences in varieties, packaging, and different other factors that make each product unique. This differentiation is what accounts for a successful product. And this not only applies to fresh produce, but also in processed products. So there are some intrinsic attributes of the product. And these are related to the size or caliber for some fruits, the form, color, scent, taste, texture, and quality. Products, an apple, which a certain caliber will not have the same price as another apple of a lesser caliber or smaller caliber. A first grade tomato will not have the same price as a tomato of inferior quality. And you can see these in markets. Fernando was telling us that you need to listen to users. This is very important because they will they will tell us what products we need to survey, what products the market is interested in. This is one example. This addresses a concern of the users and buyers. They were asking price differences for bell pepper. Or initially, we only took prices for bell peppers in general, but they told us that the price of the red bell pepper was different from the green one, and the pepper cultivated in a greenhouse was different than that which is planted in an open field. And we found out that the green and red peppers have very different, clearly different prices. And at certain times during the year, we were working here in 2010, the price of the red pepper was higher than the green one. And we took a look and to find out why this was the situation. And the consumers told us that these peppers look better, and buyers like red peppers better than the green ones. And so we saw that that was really happening in the different markets, that there were different prices. And now we have prices not only for bell peppers in general, but for greens and red. And we did the same with a greenhouse and open field peppers. And here you can see we have certain differences in the characteristics of these two products, but the market was not paying the difference. And there are also differences at the country level. In Colombia, they sell red, green, and gala apple. We have produced from Chile and the United States. The product produced coming from Chile is more popular because it has a greater value. So we determine the different characteristics of the different types of apples by color, and we can see the difference in prices. The red apple is the one with the highest prices throughout time, followed by the green apple. No, the other way around. The green apple has the highest prices, then it's followed by the red one and the gala. And this has a smaller caliber. It is important to take into account this type of features for the decision-making process. There are also different varieties. There are price differences depending on the variety. This depends on the size, the color, and the taste, and also differences among buyers. There are also price differences for each variety. In Colombia, there are different varieties of avocados. And we have the common avocado, the one here on the left-hand side, upper left-hand side. This has some mechanical damages. It doesn't have a perfect skin, but most people like it because it tastes good. Grandmothers say that this is the most tasteful avocado. It's the largest one, but they also sell different varieties of avocado. For example, the papelillo, the one on your left corner, right corner, and also the Hass avocado, which has a different taste. It's a bit sweeter. It tastes a little bit more like butter. These different varieties have different prices. If you see the common avocado, the one that I showed you first, has the lowest price. And that is because it's not very attractive visually. And the market takes this into account. And then the common avocado is followed by the Hass and the Papelillo avocados, which have different prices, but at similar levels. The same goes for lemon. In Colombia, there are 3 varieties of lemon: the Tahiti, the common lemon, and the mandarino lemon. You can see that they look completely different. The common lemon is a small lemon, but this size. It has a soft skin, and when you cut it, it has seeds. It's very different from the Tahitian lemon, which is larger in size. It has a rough skin, no seeds. And also very totally different from the mandarino, which is like a hybrid, a combination of the other 2 lemons. So, these lemons have different uses. The common lemon is more juicy than the Tahiti one. The Tahiti one looks better, though, for using in some cocktails. And that is why it has a different price. You need to take into account all these elements when you're looking for a product, to collect price information and to characterize those products. As I was telling you, prices also vary considerably. The common lemon, although it's a native lemon, it has a higher price because it is more juicy. And it has different uses than the other 2. Although they have different prices, they follow the same trend. When one goes up or down, the other ones show the same behavior. Another important aspect to take into account is the origin. And going back to avocados, in our country, we have very important fruit producer regions: the Valle, Antioquia, and Tolima. In these 3 regions, because of their characteristics, the weather, soil, they grow avocados. And the avocado, although they use the same seed, it's not of the same quality. As you can see, there are differences in shape and size. And the market takes into account these differences for the price. For example, if you take a look here, the Bayuno aguacate is the one that looks nicer. The avocado from Tolima is smaller, and the one from Antioquia, it's just like kind of in the middle. And the same happens with prices. If you remember, the avocado from Valle del Cauca is the one that looks the best, the nicest looking one, but also the most expensive. And it is followed by the other 2 that have a very similar price, as you can see here. So the market really takes into account certain characteristics which makes a product more or less desirable. The same goes with passion fruit. We have 3 producing regions: Valle del Cauca, Antioquia, and Huila. And you can see the difference here. And the same goes for the prices. They have a similar behavior, but because of their difference in the differences in their appearance, and so on and so forth, is taken into account. So when you want to include the price of a product, you need to take into account the origin of that product, because the price may change depending on the origin. Other differences to take into account is the packaging. For example, here you see packaged tomatoes. They're vacuum packaged, and also you can see apples in trays It's different to see these and to see apples or tomatoes in a box, in a cardboard box. The same goes for potatoes. Some potatoes are in bulk, and they look different if they're packaged in small bags, or if they're just they're unpackaged. And these factors affect the decision-making process and the data collection process. Other products have additional information. For example, here you can see bell pepper that was cultivated in a greenhouse. And that is why they have different prices. And the same goes for onion. No, these are garlics, but this is what you see in wholesale markets. And this one is for supermarkets. And you can see differences in the presentation of the product. And they are not comparable. You also need to take into account the added value. In Colombia, we have this type of presentation, like a wheel, that looks like a wheel. That is what you usually see in wholesale markets. But it's different if you see this product in a supermarket in smaller quantities in a kind of a mesh. Or with a nicer presentation such as the one on the right. These are also elements that account for the differences in prices. With value added here, now you can find eggs with antioxidants, or eggs with or regular eggs, and these have different prices as well. More produce with added value, they are vacuum packaged. Going back to the attributes of products, they can be divided into two groups: external, that is appearance, and intangible. The external attributes refer to the packaging, container, labeling. The intangibles refer to the brand, the country of origin, guarantee, and customer service. External attributes, this is one example. This is oats. There are many presentations for oats. The traditional oats that comes in a jar, and the oat that comes in a bag, powder oat, a liquid oat, oat cereal, and instant light oat. So these are different external attributes for the product, and they affect their characterization. They affect the way they're sold, the way they're stored, and the price at which they are sold. An intangible attribute is the brand. This is the same product, but with different brands. We have different types of milk here, different brands, and also different prices. And finally, in the intangibles, we have some elements that add value to the product. For example, the country of origin, the Brazilian ginger, for example, the Colombian banana, 100% Colombian coffee, or quality certification, customer service, warranty, eco seal, green seal. These are all important attributes to characterize a product. you also need to take into account the quality of the product. It's not the same to have a first-grade tomato or a second-grade tomato, green tomato, ripe tomatoes. And this is determined by their attributes, which determine the acceptance of this product by users. We also have different types of quality: nutrition quality, health quality, technology quality. The nutrition quality refers to those attributes of a product that make it less desirable than others. For example, no sugar, less fat, vitamin added, that they show, if they show the nutritional information such as the number of calories, fat contents, etc. We also have a health quality when there are any defects in the crops or in transport. These are strawberries, and we can see that the strawberries have been deformed because there were some deficiencies during the crop. And on the right hand side, you see that these strawberries are okay. They look good, and it's not the price will not be the same for both products. Here we have the same situation. The idea is the same. This is a higher quality product, and here they also put this type of mesh to protect the fruit from insects. So this is a higher quality product. And you will see the final result once these strawberries have been harvested. With regards to technology quality, there are differences in the collection process. And in the case of strawberries, it's different to have these than to have this type of final packaging. And going from here to here is what accounts for considerable differences in the product quality and product price. Other elements that affect the products that you find in markets is the market specialization. This is a traditional market. They're selling all different kinds of herbs. Everything is put together with no type of packaging. They're just tied with some kind of cord or wrapped in a piece of newspaper. And here you can see the same products in a supermarket that are clearly marked. They show a brand, etc. And also here you can see that they have these products in water to keep them fresh. And the quality is different. And the same here. This is cocoa. And you can see the differences in quality between these and these, and it's the same, still the same product. To conclude, it is important to take into account that in order to include a product for when collecting your data, you need to take into account different characteristics, physical characteristics, different prices based on those characteristics, recognition in the market, and presence in the market. When we include a new product, we do not include it just because. We need to have at least 3 markets where these products is being sold. It has to be, they have to be well-structured, clearly structured markets. We need to see buyers, wholesale buyers, and more than one seller. You need to have a specific site and time to sell the product. That's basically what we do. And to the degree that the consumer has more information, the consumer becomes more demanding, and markets become more specialized. Thank you, Elsa, for your presentation. As I told you before, we would like to have to give you 5 or 10 minutes to answer some questions regarding Ayrton's question as to how to perform an analysis when some data are missing. I know that Victor wanted to expand on that, as well as Blanca. And I also wanted to make some comments regarding a case in Honduras, and I don't know, maybe Rafael will also want to elaborate on that. So we'll now give the floor to Blanca.
Regarding this aspect, I wanted to mention that in our country, in Mexico, we don't collect the prices of the harvest, but in other countries they do. So if I spoke with the National Statistics Institute of Mexico, the Geographic Institute of Mexico, whether we should put this information or not. It was clear that we, the National Market Integration System in Mexico, are the source of information, the primary information source for wholesale prices. If there isn't a market price, that's a sign that the market isn't developed or isn't executed. We can't invent it, we can't repeat it, it's not intuitive. So our main responsibility as a source of information for markets is to reflect what the market states, to be transparent. And users, because the same information, or depending on the place where you are within the business chain, can be used differently. So someone may want to fill a gap for a specific study, for example. So that person would have to analyze if a projection should be done, if an average should be done and repeated. So it depends on how you're going to use the information, how you're going to analyze information available. That's what I wanted to highlight. If there isn't any data available, we're not going to invent it. It's going to have to be reflected from reality. And that's what we are trying to do in Mexico. Victor. Just to comment that this occurs with those crops and those prices that are taken from a producer or farmer. If there isn't a harvest, so there's nothing to report, there isn't a price. And when I reached the information system, I started to analyze the data I received, and something curious occurred. Rice, which is clearly defined, which has clearly defined harvest times, have a certain price during the planting season. So the prices do vary according to their seasonal status, and this happens at least with producer prices, with farmer prices. With wholesalers or commercial warehouses, if the product is there during the entire year, that's one case. But people consume sugar, and they will always consume sugared products. We will find those available during the entire year, and we will find information for that during the entire year. I just wanted to stress that regarding Urtan's question. Thank you, Victor. Elsa. I wanted to add that we completely coincide with Mexico's methodology, and if we don't have a reported price for a certain month or certain week, we leave a gap there. There are statistical periods that are rather long, and they permit a sort of seasonality for pricing. If they're very long, they can be done without any inconveniences, without it causing us statistical deviation. So the policy is just to leave the information blank, and this reflects what the harvest periods are for certain periods, such as Victor stated. We have the great advantage of having various thermal floors and a great variety of products during the entire year. But there are certain periods where a specific product isn't available, and that just reflects the seasonality of the products. Thank you, Elsa. Andrea? We agree with the fact that if there's no supply, there's no demand, there's no price. But perhaps we, just to state to Ethan, that if we have apples and it's not constant during the year, we don't have a price throughout the year for apples because we have prices for apples in a controlled temperature environment, but we know that the prices will be higher for apples, and that's the time that we export apples to Brazil. So we have a price during the entire year for that reason, even though it's not the season for harvesting apples. Mauricio. In Nicaragua, we also respect the fact that the lack of price means not publishing the price, and if we cannot import the product, or we just don't. It's not available. Maria? At least in Panama, we're undergoing a crisis due to overproduction of onions. Onions are being sold at 25 cents the pound, and right now there's too much onion. But in a few months, that will be the case. And as Andrea stated, the supply and demand will reduce the price. If there isn't one specific product in a few months, the price continues to be fixed, but it's going to increase. So the price is going to be listed, but a higher price. So depending on how the seasonality of the product is at that point in time. I don't understand the fact of how you maintain. For example, as my colleague stated, if we import it, it has one price, and that's the price, a high price. Exactly. But if that isn't the case, well, let me explain myself better. You are completely right. I didn't make sense. Let me just rephrase this. At least onions, as we have it now, we have an overproduction, and the price went down. In a few months, we won't have any more onions. Let's say it's like corn. We don't have any corn right now, and corn is very expensive right now in Panama. So when the producers begin to harvest corn in 3 months, you're going to see the rise in price. But the price is that the market price is reflected, the supply and demand that's occurring at that point in time. But if there isn't a product available, you don't list it, like what is done in Colombia and Mexico.
The
more the product, the lower the price. Regarding Guatemala, we have an SO, which means without offer and unavailable. We use those tags when it isn't a season for national products. We use SO to mark the void and the gap, which means no offer, without offer. And the data reaches the office. We've had the case where sometimes it's the figure is very blurred, and we're not able to decipher it, so we won't report it because we're not sure about the number. So we'll just cross it out and write ND, which is unavailable. When we have a product such as onion, which in Guatemala, during certain periods, it stops growing nationally, and we do use Mexican onions when that happens. We place Mexican onion or imported onion, and that's how we separate our products. We don't place it next to the national product. We tried to classify our products based on their status, either their national products or imported products. So if we're not sure of the price, we'd rather just not put anything, ND, unavailable price. That's what we do in Guatemala. Blanca? I feel like we're going in circles and we're confusing two levels in the business chain. One is the prices paid to the producer, which is what some of us quote. If there isn't a price, there's no price. But at the second level of the business chain, we have the wholesaler prices, and there may not be this may not be a period for harvest period for apples, and the producer will tell you when apples are being collected, when the harvest, the sugarcane harvest started, when it ended, and that's it. So that's the time for recollecting or for gathering apples is defined, but wholesaler prices that we collect at our main offices, since it's a large wholesale market, when your country stops its recollection, you complement it from with the recollection from other countries or from different areas in your country. That's why it's important to consider what Elsa stated and Fernando had mentioned, that the origin of the product is extremely important. So wholesaler prices can have a price set throughout the year. That's what's healthy. That's what's normal within a predominant, generally consumed product, not the producer prices, which are two different things. Thank you, Blanca. Andrea? Then Elias? I think that those of you who have participated have defined well how to different aspects to consider. However, I think that my Brazilian colleague, I'm not sure if I understand him, he asked Victor what to do when you don't have a group of prices established. I suppose that when you are going to prepare a report for a minister or someone in the government, you have to apply your statistical knowledge to generate a report and not respond, I don't have a price for that. But you have to provide an answer and apply all of the methods and information available to be able to infer or to analyze, to make an analysis that will help a decision to be made, whether that case that is occurring, with regards to the case that is occurring. You can't go to a higher government level and just say, I have no information available for that historical period, and that's it. That's not acceptable.
No, Alfredo, por favor.
Alfredo? When we don't have a classification due to the seasonality of a product, we don't establish a price. I was just speaking with Ayrton, for example, and a clear example is peach. When we have a harvest of many months and then afterwards we don't have any more peaches, and nor do we have a market, nor a supply or demand at the wholesaler level, because many times we have prohibitive prices, and there isn't a consumer market that will demand it or request it or pay it. So the farmers don't even bother bringing it. If we have a very cold winter, and we all know that peaches are not eaten during winter, we consume other products such as tangerines, or we don't have a supply of tangerines during winter, but we do have we don't have peaches during the winter, but we do have tangerines. So we have products that are produced during specific periods of time during the season, and which may last during the entire year with, we're speaking here about squash, onions, which last many months. I don't know, camote, which is a sweet potato, and they are available throughout the year, and if they're not available, it's imported. We've established that statistics further than what can reach the farmer, the product price is placed within the same bag. It's national or imported, though. The producer who conserves or the product or for some months or stores it for various months, which would compete with an imported product, we would place similar prices on these products without considering the intrinsic qualities of each. I agree with what Alfredo stated, because in truth, at a production level, this allows us to elaborate a planting and harvest calendar, and that way we can apply that accordingly. Regarding the product in the market, I coincide with what Blanca states, that you can establish a price throughout the whole year because we're going to import products, even though they're not available because of the season. In Honduras, our analysis deal with wholesaler prices, and during some months of the year, some products are not available in the market, so we cannot place a price on the product. So what we do is, the largest analysis we do at SIMPA is the seasonality index, and that's used by the agro chains at certain companies to be able to scale their production. So what we do, Victor, you as a mathematician can support me with this, you can provide some feedback. We do a linear regression analysis. It's ideal to have data for every month and take out the average. And what we do is a linear regression, which will allow us to use fictitious variables to fill in the gaps during those months that we have no prices for. With these variables, we avoid this problem of dealing with months that do not have a price, and we perform a statistical analysis which allows us to establish a window for price window. Something else that people do is that they do price interpolation. And there are 2, 3, or 4 months during a year when there aren't any prices. How are you going to interpolate this? It's very difficult. So in Honduras, what we've done is to use linear regression with fictitious variables. I wanted to explain that if you don't have a product, there's no price, as you all stated, but there are some users that insist, that say, okay, if I have a product, how much would it be? Why do they need to do that? Because they make projections. But there are different ways for you to estimate what the price would be based on the price composition in the wholesaler market. Imported products gives you an idea of what the price would be after harvest. But for me, I would like to say, for my case in Brazil, I wouldn't like to go to my boss and say, no, I don't have any prices. I can't do that. We, in Costa Rica, use both methods, and we perform seasonality indexes, and with these types of products, such as beans, which tomorrow, as part of my presentation, you can see the seasonality of beans in Costa Rica. As part of the monitoring that we do, is that we deal with the different price levels, the producer price, the wholesaler price, the consumer price, and the import price. Because beans are imported throughout the entire year, but during the months, this can work for Ayrton. During those months where there isn't national harvest or production, and mainly if it covers the importation price, we also monitor the import prices, paying the tax or with tax or without tax, and depending on the conditions of the country and the market. So this also serves as a benchmark for those farmers who need to be able to make a decision about their production. Just to end, I would like to briefly summarize the presentations that we heard today. We had two modules, one which was focused on all of the key factors for designing and managing the MIS, all the activities that have to be executed during the within the information system, to have the proper scope and for data collection and analysis purposes. I like the fact that during the first module, practically all of the presentations, well, I do congratulate all of the presenters this morning. They were excellent. We agreed on many of the same points. For example, as MIS managers, we are focused on what should be done. We have to generate information that is clear, timely, precise, and how can we do this? By executing our activities as best as we can with gathering data, processing it, and disclosing the information to the public. It's as Ms. Terry mentioned, gathering information, doing the best that you can to disclose it, for it to reach all the actors and stakeholders in the agricultural sector, especially smaller producers. One of the things that we have to remember is that for a MIS system to be successful, it has to be sustainable. And to attain that sustainability, we need to have funding, regular funding, for executing all of the activities that we need to do. In some systems, costs vary depending on the size of the system and the country and the coverage of the different markets. We do understand, however, that we need trained staff that is continuously being educated, and staff that has that doesn't have a high turnover rate, that is stable. We also need adequate technology to be able to launch, process, and disclose the information in an effective manner, especially those price reports that we execute, and efficiently disclose information to all sectors to the entire agricultural sector. This is a very expensive process. Some of our systems have funding for this, others do not, but we know that there are strategies that we can develop to be able to attain this goal, either through sponsorships, from providing information to NGOs that are directly tied to farmers, and that way, or the recipients of our reports. All of the activities within the system are key factors, as Frank mentioned in this presentation, are key factors that require a manual, and a manual is necessary to standardize information for the entire staff based on all the activities that are executed. And these manuals should be constantly researched or should be used on a day-to-day basis. They should also be used to train new hires. Another aspect that was considered was positioning. Victor mentioned how we could position ourselves. I think that one of his interventions stated that at some systems we're rather poor. We are bad salespeople. We don't promote the activities that we execute well, and we do a lot given the low budget we have. But if we don't promote our activities, it will not be feasible, especially in the public sector and the private sector as well. We have to work on developing those more strategies for creating a need for statistics so that they can use our services and information. As Terry mentioned, it's extremely important to pay attention to our users so that they can serve as a guideline for helping us to improve our day-to-day activities. We need their feedback on the information we're collecting and to correct what we consider to be weak in order to satisfy the information void that exists. Something else that was considered was credibility. We have to attain credibility from the public sector as well as the private sector. And we can achieve this by presenting trustworthy information. And the information, if beans are being sold at 250 lempiras the quintal, but the commerce system said it's at 200, we can't falsify data. Our prices must reflect the truth. And we have to develop strategies to be able to manage pressures that we may face within our ministries with regards to pricing. It was very interesting to hear the case of Ecuador and Canada, how they've evolved within their system. These were very interesting details to learn about the technical assistance that they received from other agencies and organizations, how the United States helped them. Colombia, I think, also received support from the United States. Mexico was also part of this process. It would be very interesting for us to publish a bit more about these cases so we could learn how these cases can be exemplary for our scenarios and replicate them in other countries. In that manner, we could use them as technical support and attain more technical support from other systems to help our systems improve. Regarding Fernando Palma's presentation, you did the same as I did. What he presented, well, I tried to perform a checklist to see if my reporters fulfilled the checklists, the characteristics in the checklist he mentioned. I think one of the key factors is training that reporters should have, especially motivation in doing their job well. In Honduras, for example, we support our reporters with logistics. When they reach the market, we pay their transportation costs so that they can gather the information at all the different sales points that we're interested in, supermarkets, farmers markets. This is a way of motivating them and encouraging them to do their job well. Just to end, in Elsa's presentation, it's important to characterize the different products, the different qualities, and consider the different variables that should be taken into account when pricing is established, since that's how these are variables that can affect the price. It's not the same. We may speak about a mango, but within the different varieties of mango, we will not have the same prices, obviously, as Elsa's presentation reflected. This is a brief summary. It's hard to make a summary tying everything because everyone had very extensive presentations, but I would like to thank you again for your contribution today. I hope that this was enriching for you, and it was a long day, but we are definitely taking advantage and doing what and hopefully we'll achieve the objective that we came here for. They're waiting for us on the bus, so let's get ready to go. Tomorrow we'll be here at 7:15. Just one last thing. Fanny was told that it's best if we could leave our badges here so we won't lose them. And tomorrow we'll put them on again. So tomorrow we leave at 7:15 from the hotel.